Okay, today is day 12 of the Advent video series. We're cooking again. You know, it's funny how you do things in lumps, right? I do a lot of needle felting and then I move on to a lot of cooking. But tonight is probably my most fond memory childhood cookie, sugar cookies. But these are different than any other cookie I've ever had before. They're much more savory, so by the time you get frosting on them, they're not this super sweet sugar-filled cookie that most of the other sugar cookie recipes are. Again, this is out of my old, I think I showed you this in the last video, my old 1970s, I got this when I was about 10, recipe card file that I have collected all my favorite recipes over the years. Sugar cookies was probably one of the first ones that went in it, and it has been used, as you can see from the spillage, pretty sure that's milk, all over it. This recipe is made very much like a pie crust in that you put your butter and cut your butter into your flour. So this recipe calls for 1 cup of butter that's already been sort of cubed up in here with me with the knife, and 4 cups of flour. So there's 2 cups and another 2 cups of flour. Stick into the bowl today. There. 2 cups of flour. And we're going to cut it in with the pastry cutter. You can use a fork. I highly recommend pastry cutters. We use them around here for all sorts of things. Mashing up cauliflower or cauliflower potato mixture. And you're going to cut this in until it looks like little peas, just like you do for pie crust. So here's a pre-skill if you've never cooked, if you've never made pies before. This is the most important part of the process, is cutting that fat into the flour into as well as you can, because this part of it doesn't make your cookie and or your pie crust tough. It's when you mess with it afterwards in the rolling process or after you've mixed the liquid ingredients in. So I'm going to mix this until I have just nice crumb. And it may be a little hard on your hands. Can you tell that Grayson and I both have the same hand issues? I think we caught a virus at one point, and our hands have been a little pained ever since. But you just muddle on, take your allergy meds, and keep going. Further, I'm down to about the size of mini marbles. I'm going to go down to those little small baby pea size. And believe me, this process is worth it, because all those little marks in all those little lumps in your flour are fat. And we want to break that fat up and distribute it as thoroughly as possible. There we go. So you'll know that you've done the job when there's hardly anything left on your pastry cutter. And see, it's just well distributed, tiny little pieces, but not anything big in there. So we're done with the pastry cutter. We need our dry ingredients. So we have salt and baking soda and salt, and I'm going to sprinkle that in and give that another little mix. Theoretically that should have gone in first before I did this, but I'll just do another round. We are okay, because this is the round where we can mix this and manipulate this quite a bit and it's fine. In fact, it's probably optimal that I've done a second round in here. All right, distribute it again. Next, we're gonna set our dry ingredients aside and we're gonna do wet ingredients. Now, sugar is also considered a wet ingredient. We have baking soda, I forgot to prep your baking soda. Baking soda. I was getting all this ready and left this little guy out. Baking soda, but I do have a measuring spoon right here. I have a towel. So we need 1 teaspoon of baking soda. This is a half teaspoon. 1, 2. So we have 1 teaspoon of baking soda. We have sugar, which we have here. We need to mix this first. Mix this thoroughly first. And then I'm going to grab another fork. And I'm going to beat the eggs. So my baking soda and my sugar, 1 heaping cup of sugar, 1 teaspoon of baking soda are thoroughly mixed together. And then I'm going to beat 2 eggs. 2 eggs. I'm going to mix those in, and I'm actually going to carry on with the fork. So beaten eggs go in. 1/3 cup of milk goes in. 1 teaspoon of vanilla goes in, and 1 teaspoon of the salt went in over here, so it goes in. Yeah, milk and vanilla. And I'm going to thoroughly mix this. And this part I could break out the beaters for. You do not want to use beaters on this, but this I could. If I had a stand mixer, I probably would, but I don't have that in this kitchen, so I'm just going to use my fork. It's pretty easy. Mix it well. So that I can't see any bits of vanilla and I can't see any egg. All right. Just turn this around. I'm going to grab a spatula because I'm going to pour my liquid into my flour mixture. But again, this is very much like pie crust in that you do not want to handle this very much at all, because it will become tougher and tougher. And we want delicate, for lack of a better word, flaky cookies in this, not tough cookies. These have, just like pie crust, and that's why we're treating them the same way, they're a flaky, shortbread-ish cookie, and they don't like much handling. All right, my liquid has been incorporated with my flour. I'm going to gently turn this together. Just to get it sort of incorporated, and then I'll break out my hands, because this is going to look like pie dough. There. All right, time for the hands. Let me wash my hands. I have washed them already, but I'll wash them again. And again, just a gentle kneading. I'm also going to get some flour on my hands before I do this. So wash my hands, take off my jewelry. Don't lose your jewelry when you take off your jewelry. And I'm just going to put a little flour, trying not to label this, a little flour on my hands, so that when I get them in here and do a little hand mixing to get this joined together. It is very dry. See, this is a very dry mixture. It's going to take a little bit of manipulation to get this together, but it's worth it. I'm pressing. But ultimately, these are going to come out and be rolled out into cookies to be cut. So I'm squishing it to get it into dough. And it's quickly becoming dough. See? We have dough now. And some of it's the warmth from my hands and the butter. Now originally, because I come from the era of Crisco, this was made from margarine or Crisco. New rules about fat suggest that that's probably not a good choice for us anymore. And so we have quit eating it in this house. We've quit eating all vegetable oils in this house. And I'm willing to fudge on the sugar and the flour, but I'm not going on the, I'm not going to budge on the oils. So there we go. Butter-based sugar cookies. And this is empty. See? So it all incorporated together with just a little bit of pressing on my part. And there we go. And I'm going to roll this out and we're going to cut out shapes. All right. So we have sugar cookie dough. We have, actually this is my husband's. He brought this to the marriage. I had my grandmother's wooden rolling pin, but as much as I tried to resist the lure of a marble rolling pin, I failed. It is by far a superior piece of equipment. If you don't have a marble rolling pin and you make pies or roll things out frequently, I highly, highly recommend it. So I break these into pieces just because I want to roll them out as infrequently as possible. This is my collection of cookie cutters. We've recently acquired a few more because we fell for them at the store. A little bit of flour on the bottom, a little bit of flour on top of the cookie dough, and then I flour my rolling pin. Center out, and it's soft. It's not going to be a hard rollout like pie dough is. And I flip it once. It's really delicate, so it's not going to take as much manipulation as pie dough does because it's softer. And there, roll it out. I like mine a little crisper. I don't know that my kids agree with that, but I'd say approximately 1/4 of an inch thick. There. And then cookie cutters. I really like the snowman, so maybe we'll just have this run be the snowman run. It's a good idea to, definitely to keep life interesting, cut out more than one cookie shape at a time. But you want to roll this out as infrequently as possible. So there's going to be some leftovers, and I will roll these out again. But every time you roll it out, they get a little tougher. So you can keep them interesting by changing cookie cutters, but be careful that you do not do drastically different sized cookies. So for example, if I do a little teeny star and a great big gingerbread man, my cookies are going to get done at different times in the oven, and that will not go well. I'm pushing cookies out fast here, so we're just going to rotate this tin again. And I need a spatula, and this will do to lift. I just pull away the excess, use a spatula to lift my pieces up and put them on the tray. They're pretty hardy. but they can contort a little bit, but that's actually not a bad thing because then they have a little bit of individuality, right? I run around, I pull the excess off because I'm going to roll that out again. Trying to do it as infrequently as possible, like I said. Whoop, this guy had a little boo-boo. Snowman. Got a little lumpy snowman here. I scraped him with the spatula. We're going to decorate these, so most of them will have frosting, either coating them or at least an outline around them with some frosting. Now I remember that this recipe made a ton when I was a kid, but clearly, because this doesn't look like very much now, my idea of a large quantity of dough has changed dramatically. Because this isn't that much dough. Not when you've got a whole bunch of grandkids to send it to, I guess. So here we are again. I'm gonna roll this out again. Manipulating it as little as possible. There. And let's get a new guy. How about a Christmas tree? Do some Christmas trees this round. I'm gonna need to get a new cookie. So these first ones are almost a little too soft. The second round is more like it. There. They don't definitely, they poof up a little bit, but they don't move around that much. So you can kind of pack them rather tight. I'd leave about, oh, I don't know, a little less than ½ an inch in between. There. So those are ready for the oven, 350 degrees. And they will come out nice and tasty. Gotta rotate out these ones. When the cookies have poofed and they are just lightly brown, not what you would normally expect for a cookie, they come out, and because this is going to yield me about 4 trays full of cookies. I just sort of set up an assembly line, and when I pull one out, I put the next one in. Our pancake turner. You do want to take these off fairly quickly because they'll continue to brown on the bottoms. You really don't want that. But there are, and gently, because especially the first rollout, these are tender and need to be handled gently. I don't think I need that right now. You can see that one's gotten a little dark, but he was also a little thinner. The very first batch, there's the bottom, is I gotta get my rolling pin C legs under me. And see, even this guy is cute. He got bent a little bit and got wonky when I was moving them, but they each end up with a little character. Oh, we have some joined snowman here. Again, the frosting's gonna cover all this up. And there'll be so many sprinkles on these, you won't know. Okay, that's it for sugar cookies. I will, tomorrow we will probably decorate these things, and I don't know right now or not if we will be clipping this into this video or they'll be separated, but for now, this is it tonight, and tomorrow we decorate. All right, day 13 of the Crafty Advent calendar from Black Sheep Fiber Emporium. You're up to the point now where you've seen us make sugar cookies. We also, well off camera, made gingerbread cookies. Grayson made those. And now we're going to decorate them by making a royal icing. We're about to do something that most people in the US find very controversial. We're going to use real egg whites. But let's talk about how you have safe, salmonella-free egg whites in the US. The key to that is to know somebody that has chickens. Somebody that has chickens and doesn't wash off their eggshells before they give them to you, in our case, or sell them to you in other cases. Part of the reason the industry, or eggs, you need to even worry about salmonella in your eggs, and the reason in the US that we put our eggs in the refrigerator, is that we have no process by which to know how old those eggs on the shelf are. And the farming industry, because we're people and we don't like poo on the outside of our eggs, part of the egg commercialization process is that we wash them all. In other countries, you have very carefully regulated timing. In fact, my mother-in-law, in the UK, they don't even keep eggs in the refrigerator section. They keep them on the shelf. But every single individual egg has a date stamp on it, so you know exactly how old it is. In the US, we have no such thing. But that's why we have to worry about salmonella in our egg whites. When you know somebody who raises chickens, and let's face it, we're in Portland, and I know a lot of people who have chickens, you can get eggs that you know are salmonella free. I just so happen to have eggs that I know are salmonella free. We need 3 ounces of egg whites to do this royal icing recipe. If you're worried, if you can't find egg whites, look for a recipe that calls for egg white powder or meringue powder. You're going to have different water ratios. You'll have to add in liquids, but we don't need to because we have fresh eggs that we know are salmonella free. 3 ounces. And I just separated the eggs on a scale, zeroing this out until I had 3 ounces. This is it. Now, that funny looking color in here is the 1 teaspoon of vanilla we've also already added. I'm going to put this into a mixing bowl and working up to high speed, get it up till it's nice and frothy. So we're gonna make this frothy. This does not have to be a meringue, so if you're not really good at separating your eggs, no worry. It doesn't have to be a meringue. Ooh, but it's frothing fast. I wonder if the vanilla is helping. I've never had eggs go that frothy that quickly. Maybe it's the freshness. All right, we have frothy egg. The next thing we do is take our frothy egg and add it to 4 cups of powdered sugar. Oh, gradually. Let's not pour this in. Let's add it carefully. And that's probably, I can tell you why, because in frosting you end up with having to go to a lot of work if you add it all at once.
You're about to drip.
You mean here?
Yes.
amazing how much, I'm going to stop this just to get the rest in. It's amazing how much sugar a few measly egg whites can hold. It's still liquidy, it's still runny. But the reason you want to use royal icing is that this is going to harden when cool. And growing up, we normally used like a butter frosting. And you could totally use that, but the reason I'm choosing to use royal icing this time is that these are going to get packed up in boxes and sent to my grandkids. And in postage, I'm a little concerned about butter icing. So I want this to harden. Gifts on it. All right. Look, I'm not afraid. Turn up the speed and high mixture forms glassy peaks. 5 to 7 minutes. Wow. So now you're gonna have to beat this for the next 5 to 7 minutes to make glossy peaks. It's still runny right now, so we're gonna keep going on high. We're not going to color the icing. I'm going to do all the icing in white. Any color that goes on is going to be sprinkles. Because I like to prep before I start. So I've got the frosting here, and then I pour out my little decoration pieces, especially the bigger ones. These little sugars come with sprinkler tops, but it saves mess and it helps me point where I want things to go. And the plan with this is to ice on edging, so it's not like you're covering the whole thing. If I were using butter frosting, I would coat these entire things and then sprinkle the little sugars on top. Okay, we got some good air in there. Turn it on. Way open. I'm gonna get a second one in there because this is the plan is to do this. So and all the way in as far as I can. There's that one. Pull it out. Beat it down like your toothpaste. Beat it down like your toothpaste. Corner, roll. And then you should just be able to push and get this to come out. Well, I'll do a little test blob here before.
Then you know it's Christmas when the snow starts to fall. Then you know it's Christmas for the children above all. Then you know it's Christmas, 'cause Santa's on his way. We'll stand under the mistletoe, and then it's Christmas Day. The joyful times we witness forever stays with us. Soon Rudolph hears his whistle and gathers all his friends. When Santa and his missus wraps the final gift, you know it's time for Christmas for each and every one.